Guys, I finally made it to New York City!
Lady, shut the fuck up!
God, well, anywhere beneath 14th Street.
The fun and the cultural element.
It's like this self-induced schizophrenia.
Well, I just thought you might not like what I've done and want to do something about it.
Sorry, I never know when I'm going to get in trouble.
This is WVFP.
Alright, what's your name?
Phoebe.
Phoebe. Okay. Why are you here? What do you do? What's your story?
I'm here because my friend told me to come, and because I love literature.
Heavy traffic is rare, I think, in the current literary landscape.
If you read the pieces that are in this issue or in the previous issue, like all of them are very stylistically different, but all of them have like such a strong style, such a strong voice, and that's like what Patrick really pushes in the writing. I think he's like a really amazing editor in terms of like structure and like figuring out what does or doesn't work.
Yeah. Because you get like quite different writers. It doesn't all turn out exactly the same. Yeah. There's like variety.
Yeah.
They write towards, not to sound too pretentious, but towards almost a fragment of humanity.
I view it as standing alone because essentially I'm a little bit, again, it's a little bit retarded to a certain degree, so it's always going to be different, you know? Yeah. I'm obsessive about quality and editing and things being a certain way.
Ford Taurus, relieved to be a passenger, as she drove us to the Los Angeles Gun Club, an indoor shooting range in a downtown neighborhood recently dubbed by developers as the Arts District. Alicia was wearing a black skin-tight rubber bodysuit. An invisible zipper streamed from her navel to her throat. We had been warned to cover up since a friend of Alicia's had been permanently burned by an errant bullet fragment at this very range. Michelle's leather pants were smart, but it seemed to me that her micro mesh long sleeve would melt under heat. It would melt into her skin, leaving a gnarly scar. Not that I said anything. In the car, Michelle...
Okay.
So what I was saying,
Go again.
I think the dominant literary landscape is very bland, it's very boring, it's very mediated by what's politically and aesthetically acceptable, whereas Heavy Traffic is doing something that's new and fresh and strange. The writers come from a wide variety of traditions, not only MFA programs, not only journalism, not only one genre. We have noirish pieces, we have things that are focused on like fashion, and then I'm writing about love or whatever. It's not all realism, it's often work that blends or combines genres. So I think as a writer myself, like I'm hesitant to even submit to a lot of literary journals because I think they're expecting a kind of preordained set of style or preordained set of politics that I find completely boring and antithetical to art making. Whereas I think Patrick's doing a lot of great work in bringing in writers who want to do something new, who want to blend genres and kind of like blend techniques in a way that grabs readers, that's in a way different from what you might encounter in most novels today and most literary magazines, which are frankly, most magazines are just like resume fodder for like MFA programs. It's hardly worth reading. No one outside of this very enshrined, hermetic literary milieu even reads them. They're not meant to be read. When I publish a piece in Heavy Traffic, I know that people I admire and people that I like and people that I respect are going to read it. And not only are they going to read it, they're going to come here tonight and hear me read it. So it has a kind of immediacy and a kind of intensity that I think a lot of literature is really lacking. I met Patrick via Dean Kissick, the critic who's been in this magazine. He came on my podcast. My co-host is here as well, but we have a podcast about the Norwegian writer Karl Ove Knausgaard.
Shout out the podcast.
It's called Our Struggle Pod.
Okay.
It's nominally about Knausgaard, but in fact it's about everything else under the sun. And Dean came on, and I think Dean is an interesting guy because he's sort of in a landscape that's very blasted and boring, and he's trying to find something to be optimistic about. And thank God he's found something like Heavy Traffic, and actually crafted Heavy Traffic as well, even if indirectly, to be like a sort of bastion of creativity and aesthetic experimentation in a world that is in a kind of desert of like total stylistic blandness and political boringness, and just everything that you expect and hate. Like Heavy Traffic is sort of a way of resisting this awful culture of sameness and just homogenized bullshit that as soon as you encounter it, you think, oh my god, I'm gonna hear another story about a queer Sri Lankan poet, whatever, encountering themselves. We don't, no one needs more of that. What we need more of is like stylistic experimentation. And we need more work that really blends genre in a way that feels really new. And Patrick has created a space for that. And I think Dean, what I was saying, is really optimistic in a kind of cautious way about sort of recognizing the art that's there, that's doing something new, and then fostering it and creating an environment in which it can thrive. So I'm really excited to be a part of it. I think also, as I said, like, what's unique about Heavy Traffic is it's like on the ground and immediate, so that the people here tonight are friends of mine, the people that listen to my podcast, the people that know me, the people that are interested in my friends' work as well. So they're not just going around and saying, oh yeah, I went to this reading, and oh yeah, I read this thing. They're going to take it in, and then I hope create work that of their own that's really new and exciting. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Do you want your name, your podcast, any handles, anything you want to shout out?
My podcast is Our Struggle. You can find us anywhere with podcasts are sold. Yeah.
And you're in the new Heavy Traffic.
I'm in the new Heavy Traffic right here. Issue 2. My name's Drew Ohringer. Check it out. Yeah.
The private investigator opens the door, then closes it behind him. Everything in the room takes shape very quickly because there are no mirrors, no closets, no curtains, nothing not in plain sight. Inside, in the blink of an eye, all objects are there. The private investigator can see well in the dark. Outside, it is always raining. He wonders why. He takes off his hat. He is a bachelor, though he wasn't always. He sighs, thinking about that. In the corner, the police radio is on. Double suicide, romantically motivated. But that doesn't explain anything, does it? Which is what the private investigator is thinking too. He sits down at his desk. He turns on the tape recorder. His voice is like silver fog over asphalt at midnight. His thoughts are dark and diffusing rapidly. From his trench coat, beige, out comes the evidence, of which there are two. The little bag of sugar.
How, as a fiction magazine, with everything you're saying about it being so personal, there's so much auto-fiction now, and like people talking about themselves, and you do have the very personal angle, but it is fiction. It's people, it's made up. How does that, do you think that that's significant, or how does style play into that?
Well, autofiction is diaristic. And it can achieve very well when the emotions of the moment are coming through, when it's focused on the feeling, the vibe, so to speak, rather than the particulars of the situation. Autofiction fails when it's recitational. I think the worst autofiction is a writer just trying to record things so they don't lose them as they move further in life, which is admirable as a, in an interpersonal sense, but not necessarily worthy of publication. I don't know. Autofiction, at the end of the day, it's really like it's like knowing someone's sexy or not. It's a je ne sais quoi thing. I can, love blondes. I can love brunettes. I can love redheads. But in each one of those categories, I don't love each one of them. Maybe I love the boys that look like me, and maybe I love the men who walk down the street smoking cigars 12:30. But I don't love each example of this category. Sometimes it clicks. Sometimes this man has the right spark in his eye. And then I know it's true love. And it's the same with autofiction. Except for I think, honestly, with autofiction, it will never be true love. There's great autofiction out there. We published some great autofiction. We have published some alright autofiction. It's not going to change the world.
I mean, that's something I've noticed. With it's less autofiction than a lot of what's happening now. It's fiction,
Yeah. I feel like a lot of our competitors and peers are very autofiction focused.
I think it's harder to do what you're doing. Yeah.
To actually come up with a story. Yeah.
What's next? Is there an issue 3? Or?
Oh, of course. Sorry, we're gonna sell. Can you just?
Okay.
Okay. So heavy traffic is I think I found out about it through a friend, but I think like what makes it really special is how much you can tell that like if you read the pieces that are in this issue or in the previous issue, like all of them are very stylistically different, but all of them have like such a strong style, such a strong voice, and that's like what Patrick really pushes in the writing. I think he's like a really amazing editor in terms of like structure and like figuring out what does or doesn't work, but also helping you to like lean into, I guess, like what's special about your piece. And like it's really astonishing. Like I work at a like much more like at another literary magazine, and like the types of submissions that you get from like people who have MFAs, it's so shocking actually. All of them. I mean, this gets said all the time that it almost like it's like a trope, but it is actually true that they're all literally exactly the same, like so boring, and like just it's almost like as if these people aren't thinking at all about like why they're choosing this medium to do what they want to do, and like why we should
Do you have a Sharpie?
Oh yes, it's in my bag.
Where's your bag?
I'm talking about heavy traffic.
Okay.
So I guess that's what like is amazing about heavy traffic. I don't know with Patrick's taste, like I don't know where he found these like early people. I mean, many of them were just like his friends or people I also know, but like it's so clear that they have such a distinct approach to writing, and it's really, I guess, like also it makes sense that a lot of them are artists and like are people who are like everyone in like art in like this century like has to be thinking about like the actual form. Like you can't just be like doing painting or whatever, and so it kind of makes sense to me that like they would also be producing writing that's more formally interesting and intelligent. But yeah.
Thank you.
Cool.
Okay. How is Heavy Traffic performed live differently than other magazines? How does Heavy Traffic present in a reading setting and in an in-person setting?
Unfortunately, I don't think it does, because a reading is essentially a promotional tool, unfortunately. So, to be frank, I'm not thrilled about doing readings. As I said in an interview that I did recently with Dean.
Well, then why are you doing the reading?
Because it's a great promotional tool. You know, we packed this place, we've done it twice, and a big reason that we packed this place is because of the readings, you know? So it's a great tool to use. Personally, I'm just not such a fan of readings. But I know that other people are.
Why aren't you a fan of reading?
Because I'm a little bit retarded and I have a hard time following people when they're speaking to me. Even just in general conversation, I find it difficult to follow people. So in a reading setting, it's just that times, you know, infinity. But Dean, what's your take on it?
I came to New York, among other things, wanting to find the literary scene, wanting to find like readings to go to, readings to do. Did like my first reading in LA, did more here. That was a very good experience for me. The readings have become like, now it's kind of become a bit of a joke, like a faff, a joke, or kind of unpleasant thing to go to, or maybe even to do. But this is like a symptom of like abundance culture, overabundance culture. It's the same reason like everyone can just go online and complain about how we're all doomed and the world is ending and we all need to kill ourselves because of like it's abundance culture, because everything is so good we can only tell ourselves, well, it's all fun, we need to die right now.
and we can never have children or reproduce or like even get out of bed in the morning. But having lived in places like London or LA, where there is no literary culture,
We're spoiled.
Yeah, it is. It is good. Readings aren't that fun. I thought today was a good reading, but they're not that fun. There is a reason why people would rather go to dance parties or bars with their friends or like kind of go do coke in their friend's house than to go to a reading. But in the moment when, I guess 2021, when like readings became a big thing in New York, I think it was good for the city. I really do. And I think it's good for the literature scene.
I think one thing that,
I have been to good readings in my life as well.
One thing that does set the heavy traffic readings apart is that I'm very cutthroat about the time limit. So tonight, for instance, every reader, I had a timer, and they could not go over 10 minutes, right? So it's very succinct. And I think with a lot of readings, it just goes on and on and on, and it becomes very tiresome. So for me, as someone who's...
timing it?
I was literally timing it. For me, as someone
How long were the 3 readings?
Drew went over a little bit.
Well, why did you stop it?
Because he was the first, so I didn't, and he was like also, Drew is such a performative reader that I couldn't just jump in there. But with the second with Brew, my goodness, I tapped her on the shoulder the second it hit 9 minutes.
Drew, look, he's filming us now.
Yes,
he didn't go over his 10-minute allocation. Like he didn't break the
That's
entire
about
system.
Drew going over his 10 minutes allocation.
We literally talking about you in the interview.
You should be happy I went over it.
I was asking Patrick why he didn't cut you off when you broke the 10-minute allocation. This is
you went over because you read like.
Well, because it had to be read in full.
You read gingerly. You took your time.
I'm a ginger man.
You took your
I
time.
was like fully an outsider
Are
to
you
like
really angry at me?
not
No, I'm not
being
angry
a
at all.
part of that.
No one's angry. Go ahead.
I do think something just for me, like not being a part of this before, the heavy traffic writing versus some other writing seems like something that you get something different from when you hear it read aloud, given what that's just like my own personal take, but like that does seem like something that it offers versus some people just reading things aloud. So that does seem like something that the reading setting
It's true, and at the end of the day,
I think you're right.
A lot of people do get something from readings, even if I don't. So, it's my problem that I don't.
And a question for you. I know when you were talking to Nathan, you were talking about how it's not time-stamped, and with your editing process, you very much make it like a cohesive work. How do you see that going forward in the future? How have you done that in the past? What's like the thought process behind that?
The question was, or the answer I gave to Nathan was about, if you go on the website, the piece you don't know what day it's from, what month, what time of day it's from. It's not time-stamped, right?
Yeah.
Honestly, part of that, so if you go on the website and you read Pillow Angels by Honor Levy, it's not going to say released in July 26, 2020, even though that's when it was released. It's just going to be, there's nothing. There's no indication of time directly. So honestly, a big part of that is just because the fucking web design is lazy. You know what I mean? So, and it will continue to be that way because I'm not going to design a new website. But
you're also not releasing that much. You probably shouldn't timestamp that.
Yeah, we're not really.
It's better to just.
If we timestamp it, it would be blatantly obvious how little we post on the website.
I mean, you are releasing a lot.
Yeah.
But in print,
we're releasing a lot in print. Very quickly in print. Dean said he was impressed by how quickly the second issue came out.
Well, it's good, but also and not to whatever. I don't need to put my own. You're the one answering the questions, but there's such a fucking scene with all this shit, and I feel like you're separating yourself artistically from being in a certain period of I don't know, do you view it as I don't know, how do you view the word as standing alone? Do you view it as part of a time period? Do you view it as separate?
I view it as standing alone because essentially I'm a little bit, again, a little bit retarded to a certain degree, so it's always going to be different, I'm obsessive about quality and editing and things being a certain way. Do you view it as being standing separately?
No, I think it's part of this movement, for sure.
Yeah.
I don't think that's a bad thing. That's part of what gives it its strength.
He's obsessed with kind of the milieu, and he's obsessed with being part of a scene.
I mean, when you started this, did you want to be a part of a moment?
No.
I mean, I
You're
know
obsessed with the idea of an epoch.
I know you were saying you started
We're in a
because,
new
like,
epoch. We're in a new epoch.
Dean loves epochs.
no, I want to hear what you guys have to say more than what I'm very.
Yeah.
But I know when you started, you were saying
There was
you
no
couldn't-
intention whatsoever to be.
Yeah.
Back then, there was no other literary magazine that I wanted to. I was not a New York Tyrant guy, God bless Giancarlo, excuse me, but like that was never my thing. I was never a fan of it. Like, I don't know anything about it, so I'm not. In 2020, there was no other literary magazine that published something like Ohringer or Permanent Hospice. So, no, there was the only intention was.
I mean, New York Times 100% Republic.
Oh, come on, no, with all the come on.
100% with anything.
So no, it was literally just to make a place to publish the fiction that I was writing and reading. There was nowhere to publish it. That's it.
Well, going off of that, now that like that's almost Heavy Traffic has set the scene for that, and now that's more of a like thing that like other people are jumping off of.
Yeah.
What going forward? Are you like happy about that and like just gonna go with it, or is there something new you're?
I don't know if I see it that way. I don't know. I'm too close to it to be able to tell.
Yeah. Okay. That's fair.
But all I can do is continue to get the fiction that I believe in, and I'll keep doing that because I can't do anything else, you know?
And how like fictional, because so much of today is autofiction, everyone talking about themselves in the moment, and it seems like it is important to Heavy Traffic, and what sets it apart is that it separates itself from that. Like, going forward, how much is it just you like wanting the writing that you like, and like is it going off of that, or like are you trying to create a like aesthetic? What's the plan?
I have no idea really.
Yeah.
It's just I don't know. It's just
You're trying to create an aesthetic for sure.
There is an aesthetic to it, but I don't know if it's intentionally curated or if that's just where you're.
I think that's a little bit more accidental, maybe.
Yeah. Okay.
Not at all. Like we're heavily edited.
The editing, the heavily. Well, okay, continue. Dean, you should talk more.
Alright, talk about the editing.
Just felt like you're heavily editing stuff. So that's making it more of an aesthetic.
Yeah.
Because you get like quite different writers. It doesn't all turn out exactly the same.
Yeah.
There's like variety in it.
Yeah.
But you are kind of editing it more into kind of an aesthetic or a stance, a sensibility. Maybe there's a slightly different things, but it's not wildly different.
A question for you, Dean, because you've been a part of Spike, and like that's more European mainstream. I don't want to say mainstream because it's not, but like more what's happening there. How would you view Heavy Traffic as playing into that side of things, into the art world and those conversations?
Well, it's a good question. There's not a lot of literary publications I'm aware of, like kind of young upstart literary publications in Europe or even outside of New York. I'm sure there are, but like they don't cross our path, they're not getting traction. There are like big literary publications, but they're more of a different kind. So it's a different thing. It's kind of interesting. To me, like interesting literary publications.
What makes Heavy Traffic interesting to you?
Happen in New York. Let me answer the question I was asked. Not a lot of it. It's in something like, okay, Heavy Traffic is like, it doesn't just publish New York writers, but it is like it's New York based, it publishes a lot of New York writers, and it's a lot of like New York sensibility, or just like